Many people think avoiding difficult conversations is a sign of weakness. They say it means you're afraid, passive, or unable to handle conflict, but the truth is much more complex. If you often hesitate before bringing up uncomfortable topics, if you replay conversations in your head before saying something honest, or if you sometimes choose silence instead of confrontation, it doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong with you. In many cases, it means your mind is trying to protect relationships, manage emotions, and avoid unnecessary damage. Human beings are deeply wired for connection, and difficult conversations threaten that connection. So instead of judging yourself for avoiding them, it may help to understand the deeper psychology behind why this happens. Here are several reasons people naturally avoid difficult conversations and what those behaviors might actually reveal about the way your mind works. The first reason is emotional self protection. Difficult conversations often carry the risk of emotional pain, whether it's criticism, disagreement, rejection, or conflict. Our brains instinctively try to avoid situations that might hurt us emotionally. Psychology shows that the brain processes social pain in a way that is surprisingly similar to physical pain. In other words, being rejected, criticized, or misunderstood can trigger the same alarm systems as physical danger. Because of this, your mind may choose the safer option: silence. Imagine someone who wants to tell a friend that something they said was hurtful. They may think about it for days, but still never bring it up. From the outside, this might look like avoidance, but internally, their brain is trying to protect them from a potentially painful reaction. Instead of seeing this as weakness, it can be reframed as emotional awareness. Your mind recognizes that certain conversations carry emotional weight. The goal is not to eliminate that instinct, but to gradually build the confidence to handle those emotions when the moment comes. Second reason is the desire to protect relationships. Many people avoid difficult conversations because they value harmony. They care about the people in their lives and they fear that confrontation could damage those connections. Research indicates that humans have a strong need for belonging. Maintaining relationships has historically been essential for survival, which means our brains are naturally cautious about actions that might threaten social bonds. For example, someone may hesitate to tell their partner that something is bothering them because they worry it might create tension. Or an employee might avoid disagreeing with their boss because they fear it could affect their job or reputation. In reality, this hesitation often comes from empathy. You're thinking about how your words might impact someone else. The important shift here is understanding that healthy relationships are not built on perfect harmony, but on honest communication. The same sensitivity that makes you cautious can also make you thoughtful when you finally choose to speak up. The third reason is overthinking the outcome. Some people avoid difficult conversations because their minds immediately imagine every possible scenario that could go wrong. You might think, what if they get angry? What if they misunderstand me? What if this ruins the relationship? Psychology shows that people who are more reflective or analytical often spend more time mentally simulating future outcomes. While this can be useful in many areas of life, it can also make certain conversations feel overwhelming. A simple issue can start to feel like a huge risk because your brain has already imagined 10 different negative endings. For instance, someone may want to ask their manager for a raise, but after imagining rejection, awkwardness, and possible judgment, they decide it's easier to stay silent. However, this tendency also shows something positive: awareness and thoughtfulness. You care about consequences, you think before acting. The challenge is learning when to stop overanalyzing and allow real conversations to unfold naturally rather than perfectly in your head. The fourth reason is a lack of emotional language. Sometimes people avoid difficult conversations not because they don't care, but because they simply don't know how to express what they feel. Research indicates that many individuals grow up without learning how to clearly communicate emotions. Instead of saying, I felt hurt when that happened, they might only feel a vague sense of discomfort or frustration. When emotions are hard to describe, conversations feel even harder to start. Imagine someone who feels unappreciated at work. They know something feels wrong, but they struggle to put it into words. Rather than risk saying the wrong thing, they say nothing at all. This isn't a failure of character. It's often a skill that was never taught. The encouraging part is that emotional communication can be learned. The more you practice naming your feelings and expressing them calmly, the easier these conversations become. The fifth reason is past experiences with conflict. Our previous experiences shape how we approach difficult conversations today. If someone grew up in an environment where conflict led to shouting, blame, or punishment, their brain may associate difficult conversations with danger. Psychology research shows that past negative experiences strongly influence future avoidance behavior. When a conversation once led to pain or humiliation, the mind remembers that feeling and tries to prevent it from happening again. For example, someone who was frequently dismissed or criticized when they spoke up as a child may grow into an adult who hesitates to voice concerns. Their silence is not weakness, it's a learned survival strategy. But awareness changes everything. Once you recognize where that pattern comes from, you can slowly begin to rewrite it by practicing safer, healthier conversations with people who respect you. And finally, the sixth reason is emotional maturity. This may sound surprising, but sometimes people avoid difficult conversations because they are choosing the right moment, rather than reacting impulsively. Emotionally mature individuals often pause before speaking during conflict. They think about timing, tone, and intention. Research in emotional intelligence suggests that people who regulate their emotions well are less likely to confront issues in moments of anger. Instead, they wait until they can communicate calmly. What might look like avoidance could actually be restraint. For example, imagine someone who feels hurt during an argument but chooses not to respond immediately. They wait until later, when emotions have settled, to talk about it more clearly. That pause is not weakness, it's emotional control. Understanding these patterns changes the way we see ourselves. Avoiding difficult conversations doesn't automatically mean you're weak, passive, etc., or incapable. In many cases, it means you're thoughtful, empathetic, emotionally aware, and deeply concerned about the impact your words might have on others. The key is balance. Your instinct to protect relationships and emotions is valuable. But learning to express difficult truths in a calm and respectful way is what turns that sensitivity into real strength. Difficult conversations are not about winning arguments or proving someone wrong. They are about understanding, honesty, and growth. And if you're someone who reflects deeply before speaking, who cares about people's feelings, and who wants to communicate in a thoughtful way, that already says a lot about your character. You're not broken. You're learning how to navigate one of the most complex parts of being human: communication. If this insight resonated with you, there are many more hidden patterns in human behavior worth exploring. Subscribe for more psychology and personality insights that help you better understand yourself and the people around you.